Most cleaning business owners spend hours every week guessing. They're guessing their marketing, they're guessing about customer service, how to hire. So, what if your business had a built in advisor that already knew the answers? So, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. So, over the next 60 minutes, we're going to build that advisor together, live, step by step. I'm joined by Russ Henenberry, co author of Digital Marketing for Dummies. And he's the founder of The Click, which I'm a member of. And he's kind of my mentor now for everything AI, making me work better, smarter, and faster. He taught me the exact system we're about to teach you, and it easily saves me 4 to 6 hours every day, no exaggeration. So stick around to the end because I'll show you exactly how I use it for my own cleaning company so that you can see it in action. Russ, thank you for being here. I'm so excited.
I didn't know I was your mentor. Wow.
You are. I mean, like, I don't think I would call anyone else my mentor in this space.
Well, good. Yeah, I mean, I've gone hardcore into studying, like, trying to connect AI to things that actually matter for business people, like how to save time, right, and get things done more efficiently, but also at higher quality. And all those things are possible when you understand how these systems work. They're super powerful. I'm excited to share it with you guys and build something like so. This is an actual like workshop, right? So if you've got ChatGPT, the $20 a month version you'll need to do what we're going to do today. Go ahead and open up ChatGPT in one of the tabs of your computer because we're going to build something today. It's going to be exciting.
And I did the exact same thing myself. And I remember taking this workshop with you, Russ, and going, really? I'm going to build this today in the next hour? Yep. So I'll put
in fact, like we can, you know what we're going to do? Cause I've been excited about doing this kind of thing where let's just build part of it right now. Okay. So we're not futzing around. Okay. So,
exactly.
So the first thing I want to do is just show you just how easy this stuff is to do when you know how to do it. And the way we're going to do this is, let me just take you all the way to the end of this presentation here, where you can get the assets that you need to build this, what we call the strategic advisor whoops, I got the wrong deck up here. What happened to my...
Oh yeah, you've got the yep, I know this one.
Yeah, you know this deck.
I do know this deck.
I've got so many monitors. This is my problem. I think there's a point at which you have too many monitors. You have too much screen real estate and you don't know what the heck's going on. I always have assets in all the trainings that I do. So that was the wrong assets. So what you're going to do is go to your browser and type in jointheclick.ai/build-sa. Okay. So if you go to jointheclick.ai/build-sa, and maybe you want to pop that into the chat or something, it would be good too.
You got it.
And when you do that, so I'm going to do it with you here. I'm going to go to jointheclick.ai. That's my website. And then you're going to go to build-sa. Just type that in, and that's going to open up a folder. And this is how I do all my AI trainings. We always have instructions and prompts and stuff like that. And you also can get the slides that I'm going to go through today in case you want these slides. Is also in this folder. Okay, so that's step one. Now, step two, open up the instructions document. Now, one of the things you can do is double click on that, and you can make a copy of this for yourself if you like. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to copy all of this, right? This stuff right here. So let me slow down just a little bit and make sure everybody's kind of catching up. So just to repeat, we're going to go to jointheclick.ai/build-sa. And then I think Victoria put that link in there for you guys. If you want to just click on it, it opens up a folder, and then you want to open up the instructions here. And this is going to contain some prompts and some other things that we'll use to build our strategic advisor today. So what I want you to do is, you can see right here, it says step 1, copy and paste the following text. So you can see where it says begin AI custom instructions. Let's just go ahead and copy all of that. Now, some of this will look like gobbledygook to you. I'll explain that in a minute, but don't worry about it. Just copy all that. And I'm going to right click here and press copy. And then go over into your ChatGPT account and click on GPTs and explore. Okay, so we click on explore and let ChatGPT do its thing. And then I'm going to click on create in the upper right-hand corner. All right, so just to review that, right? So let's go back. We're going to go into ChatGPT, open up your ChatGPT account, click on GPTs, explore right there. You can see I've got all these GPTs along here. And we're going to build another one, and it's super easy to do. So we're going to go to create, and we're going to call this strategic advisor. Okay. Act as a strategic advisor. So just say you can put your name here. You can put the name of your business here. I'm going to say The Click. That's the name of my business. And then I'm just going to paste these instructions. All right. So give it a name. Give it a quick description. You don't even have to do that if you don't want. But then drop those instructions in there. And click create. Click the create. You won't see this screen unless you have ChatGPT Business. But what you're looking for is for it to say View GPT. So what we've done just really quickly here is created a customized version of ChatGPT. And it's custom because it has custom instruction. Like, I'm telling it how to behave differently than regular ChatGPT. So now that I've got these instructions in here, I can go in here and start to have conversations based on these instructions. I can say stuff like, what are some ideas for lead generation? And this thing is going to reference its instructions. And I've got instructions that we'll get into a little bit more about how these instructions are set up in a minute. Suffice it to say that this AI has been trained or customized to think through something that we call the customer journey. And so the literal instruction here is coming out, and it knows things that regular ChatGPT doesn't know, if that makes sense. So one of the things you can do now that you've built this strategic advisor, how many of you guys are already there? You already built it. You kind of built just so you know, this is the first step of building this out completely, but you've taken a big step here. You've pasted some custom instruction into a custom version of an AI. And when you access it, you're accessing a custom AI that is not like the rest of ChatGPT. It's got its own set of instructions. We're going to do a few more things to it as we go. But this AI is a far superior AI than just going into a typical new chat. This is how most people use AI, is they go into a new chat and they start saying, like, what are some ideas for lead generation? And this AI is not necessarily trained to talk about lead generation. Does that make sense, Victoria?
Yeah, it's going to give you the AI slop that does my head in, which is just generic, any kind of business advice. And it's because it knows everything. And at the same time, it knows nothing about your specific business. And so training it with that custom GPT is the key.
Yeah, so let's jump into a little bit of the training part of this, and why doing this is so important, why it works. Because once you see how this works, I think you're going to have all kinds of ideas about how to structure different things with AI. I know that Victoria, she's in my Click Pro program, and she's one of the best users of AI in there, and is coming up with all kinds of new ways to use AI. And it really is. This is sort of your gateway to learning, like all the things that could be possible. I like to teach AI in this way because I think you learn this AI stuff by doing this AI stuff, right? So when you actually get in there and build stuff and start to use it, all of a sudden you'll have another idea and another idea and another idea. Okay. So this is called Let's Build Your AI Strategic Advisor. And what I want to talk about first is that this is important stuff, right? So AI is the fourth industrial revolution. There's a lot of people calling that the fourth industrial revolution after steam power and electricity and computing. And what happens in these types of big changes is that there's all this opportunity. So those of you, you guys are building a business right now. You're building a cleaning business, and there's never been a better time to start a company, because you're going to start here in this intelligence revolution. And because you're here at this training, you can start to build your business with AI sort of baked into the foundation. A lot of the businesses that already exist, and then AI comes along, they have to figure out how to work AI into their existing systems and everything, and could end up finding themselves getting disrupted by businesses like yours that are AI native, right? So since you're here, this could be a big, moment for you to learn how to use this tool and start to bake AI into all of your processes at your business, rather than having to retrofit them in later, right? Like a lot of existing companies are doing. So, a lot of very smart people that I listen to agree with this statement that every business going forward is either going to be AI native. In other words, they grew up during AI, or they're going to have to become AI forward. In other words, they're baking AI into their existing processes. The latter is harder, actually, right? To make an adjustment to a business that you've had going for 10 years or something like that, and trying to change and adapt to this new revolution. There's a lot of opportunity for you right now to build from the start. And this could be the beginning of that for you, this workshop here. Because the thing is that traditionally, the way a company would grow is that somebody would have an idea, like you out there. I have an idea. I'm going to start a cleaning business, right? Victoria's helping me. Like, she's going to train me how to do it and do all these things. And so you're that visionary. If you started this company, you're the person that's like, man, I could picture that. Like, I could do that. Like, I'm going to go out there and do that. And then, you end up hiring people like managers, and then you go get labor, and you get more humans involved and more humans involved. And, this is traditionally how businesses grew, right? Eventually, each time you hire somebody, you expect revenue to go up, right? So it's like, okay, I added somebody, this person cost me $75,000 a year to pay them. I expect to at least get $75,000 back in return for hiring this person. That's how companies grew at that time. What we're seeing now is that you could literally start to think about these AIs as digital labor, right? Like, that never sleeps, never takes a day off, and it never gets grumpy at work, right? It never takes PTO. So these AI employees, they are there to increase both efficiency and innovation at your company, right? So I like to think about this, Victoria, and I know you do the same thing. So there's two ways of thinking about how AI can be impact and be used at your company. The first one is, how do I use it to do things I'm already doing, but do it quicker and with higher quality? I call that the efficiency side of the equation, right? So how do I do things I'm already doing, right? So this is stuff that I'm already doing. Wow, I didn't know AI could do that. I didn't know AI could do that for me. Mm-hmm. And then there's the innovation side, where you start to figure out, wait a minute, there's additional things I can start doing that were previously impossible for the size of my company, the amount of time I have, whatever. I can add this as a value add for my customer. And that's the innovation side of AI, that new things are possible. And this concept of digital labor, when people grasp it, they start to realize that. So, it's the number one thing I hear from people, Victoria, when I talk to companies is they want to grow the business. They don't want to grow the number of employees they have. Like that's totally possible with digital labor, right? Like that you could take the same team that you have and maybe double sales while only maybe adding a handful of new people. Does that make sense?
Totally. And I think in our case with our cleaning businesses, so we have our labor, which we can't replace with AI. So that's our cleaners. But most people end up hiring virtual assistants. And I think what I'm hearing anyway within their community is that the VAs are using AI, but not well. And so there's a lot of just generic slop getting created. And this is where, I used to have 2 full-time virtual assistants. And now I have 5 or 6, what I would call my digital labor from taking the workshops with you. And so I have my digital marketer, I have my customer service agent, I have my strategic advisor, like all of these that I call my digital labor, and they're only up leveling, like you said. So it's the efficiency, but then the quality is so much better, you guys. Like my customer service is unbelievable now as a result of how I've trained the strategic advisor and my customer service agent.
Yeah, so we're seeing companies that are starting, it's kind of a weird thing to think about, but like your org chart is more and more starting to look more like this, right? Where it's like you've got people that are you're going to be working with, but you also, each one of these people has access to, the highest quality artificial intelligence on the planet for $20 a month, right? So it's
it's crazy.
It's what's crazy is that, and the craziest part about it, I think it is crazy. And the craziest part about it is that some companies are not seeing this yet, right? They're like, well, I don't know if I should look into this or get training or study this or whatever. And it's like, man, if you don't, how can a company that is structured like this compete with a company that's structured like that? They can't. They won't be able to. And that's why, there's a new metric that a lot of people are talking a lot about, which is called revenue per employee, right? So it's how much money does each individual person, like, so it's really easy to calculate. You take your revenue and you divide it by your number of employees. And that number is going up for companies like tremendously, for companies that are leveraging AI, because they don't have to hire new people. So a lot of companies doing setting policies like, we weren't going to hire somebody unless you can tell me why AI cannot do that job, right? Like if AI can't do the job, then of course we'll hire somebody. But like, for example, your cleaners, you're going to be hiring cleaners, right? You're going to have cleaners on your team. That's everybody's going to have that, right? Like everybody in the cleaning business is going to have that. The question is, do you figure out how to go without hiring extra admin staff when your competitors have to, and so their prices either are higher than yours, or they're not making as much profit and reinvesting it back into the company, all that stuff. And so, what we're seeing is that companies that leverage this and start to look more like what we see on the screen here, you just can't compete, right? And that trend will continue. And so this is why people are saying like it's AI or die. Like you either going to be AI native, AI forward, or gone, right? Is what a lot of people say. It's not going to happen overnight, but this is one of those big, what I call left turns in business, right? And when people are comparing a technology to something like electricity, it's very worth paying attention to it, right? So today we're going to build this little AI here, which is the strategic advisor. And, on my team, I use all kinds of AIs to do different things. And this is the best AI to build first, because for me, it's my everyday, what do they call that? Everyday rider or whatever. Like,
your ride or die?
Yeah, your ride or die. It's your ride or die AI. And the reason is because this thing helps to extend your thinking. This AI has a point of view and a perspective. And more than likely, if I'm working at my computer, I've got a tab open with my strategic advisor sitting in there, and I can just have conversations with it. I can think things through with it. And it acts as a sounding board. It gives me ideas. Sometimes it gives me bad ideas, and then and sometimes it gives me just the most amazing insights and ideas, or sparks something that leads to a great idea. So it really does feel like a digital laborer that's sort of on my team. And that's what I want to build with you today. So I want to show you this graphic, because this graphic represents a really, really fantastic way to think about marketing and think about business growth. So any business that has any sales at all has some kind of a customer journey in place, whether they realize it or not. There's some way, let's say they have 10 customers, that those customers found out about the business through awareness, became a lead, bought something, and then went into this post-purchase cycle, which I call succeed, ascend, and promote. So I'm going to walk through this. And the reason I want to walk through this with you is because this is what this strategic advisor is trained to understand. So we tell this AI the lens through which you view the world is through the lens of the customer journey. That's why when I said to it, hey, what are some good ideas for lead generation, it came up with some dang good ideas. The reason it did that is because it's got this customer journey training. And so it's been instructed to look at the world through that lens. So I want to walk through this. I'm not gonna spend a tremendous amount of time on customer journey, but I do want you to understand that this is how this AI thinks. Like, this AI is a great AI to talk to when you're thinking about growing your cleaning business. So basically, the customer journey works this way: that there is no way for somebody to buy something from you unless they first become aware. It sounds kind of silly to say, but it's an interesting thing to think about, right? That there are stages of awareness that people go through. The first stage is called becoming problem aware. I don't have time to clean my house. My house is a disaster all the time, right? Like, I'm not,
I love that you said I don't have time, because oftentimes people think we're selling cleaning services, but what we're actually selling is the transformation in your life as a result of outsourcing cleaning to a company. And that transformation is, now you have time and you have the brain capacity to not have to think about how you should be cleaning all the time. Right. And so that's really, like, the problem is the time.
So if I become aware, for example, I'm walking around out there in the world thinking, I got a problem, and it's that I am strapped for time. Now, you just basically, at least in America, you've hit a pain point that pretty much everybody has. So they don't have enough time in the day, right? So there was an old, I don't know if I ever talked to you guys about this, Victoria. One of my favorite marketing books comes right at the turn of the century. This guy wrote this thing called the Robert Collier Letter Book. It's a book on how to write compelling copy. It was one of the first books that I'm aware of that talked about how to write persuasively. And the most insightful thing from that book is that Robert Collier talks about the idea that we want to enter a conversation that is already going on in the customer's mind. We just want to walk in and start the conversation. In other words, when you find somebody who's problem aware, in other words, they know they're strapped for time. Let's just go with time as the problem here. And you walk in and you say something like, "Are you feeling strapped for time?" Right? That's literally, that's why when you see these cheesy infomercials, right, that are on late at night, they're like, "Are you having sticky pans and everything's stuck to your pan and you're frustrated with this?" It's a cheesy formula that just basically smacks somebody over the head and said, "Do you have this problem?"
Mhm.
And if you do have this problem, you're going to listen because you're already having this conversation in your brain. Like you're already thinking about this, right? So our job as business people and marketers is to find people that have the problem that we solve and enter that conversation. Just come walking right in the door and talk to them about this problem of time, right? And then introduce the solution. And we want to make as many people that are problem aware of this time problem that there's one of the solutions that they could pick is to have someone clean the house for them. So a very classic formula of writing anything that is going to compel someone to buy something is to state the problem and then state the solution, right? So here's the problem, right? And it's important to know what the problem is, right? Which we're going to get into as we go along today is what are your customers' problems? What are the pain points? Because if you can just talk to them, hey, here's the problem, right? And they're like, yes, that's the freaking problem. And then you say, I got the solution for you. And they'll choose to buy it or not. But you want to make people that are problem aware. You want to make them solution aware, right? You want to move them through the journey from problem to solution aware. And you can do that in one sentence. Like you can state the problem and the solution in one sentence. But marketing is, when you think about it through the lens of a customer journey, marketing is the intentional actions that we take to move people along these journeys, right? From problem to solution to brand aware, right? Because you have a brand, you have a cleaning company, and you've named the thing, and it's got a brand, and it's a company, right? So you want people to not only be aware of the problem, but also aware that there's a solution, which is having their house cleaned for them, and that there's a brand called whatever your brand's name is, so that they're now brand aware. Does that make sense?
100%.
Now, I won't go into positioning because it's a little bit of an advanced, takes too long to get into it, but essentially to put up a little bit on it, positioning is just basically like, why choose you, right? Over the other cleaning companies they have available to them.
For anybody following this channel, it's because we have easy online booking and all the other companies don't.
Right. So when you take a position in the market, quickly thinking about this, for example, like if I say to you the words luxury sedan, right? What brand of a car pops into your head? Well, whatever brand pops in your head, it's because they've positioned themselves to be a luxury sedan. And then if I said to you budget sedan, there would be another company that would pop into your head and another car. So your position, right? So if you think about the 4 stages of awareness, there are tons of people, if not everybody out there is got this problem that we solve, which is, keep going with time, right? Like strap for time. Are they aware though? Or at least are they thinking about, is there a conversation going on in their mind that the solution here would be to have somebody clean the house? There are people walking around out there that are having this conversation in their head. They're like, I got a problem. I'm strapped for time. I'm in the market. Like I'm thinking about hiring somebody to clean my house because it takes 6 hours a week out of my day or something, right? My time. Those people are called solution aware, right? So there's problem aware people, there's solution aware people, there's brand aware people, right? And there's our job as marketers is to move people through this journey. And then we get into a stage after we drive awareness and we think about marketing here, we think about subscription, right? How do we get somebody to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm kind of interested in that, right? How do we get them to try the service? Like maybe, I don't know how you structure your training or teaching or whatever, but maybe, allowing somebody to have a free cleaning or a one-off cleaning. I know actually we talked about this, right? Where you said, it's not necessarily a great idea to do these one-off trainings or cleanings, but there is a lead-gen stage.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, most people just do. So they'll sign up for a one-time clean. I actually had this yesterday. So somebody signed up for what we call a first-time clean, which is like a deep clean. We just don't use those words because as soon as we use deep clean, people complain. Whereas when we say first-time clean, they're like, oh yeah, okay, it's a first-time clean. And then I contacted the person and said, hey, how did it go? If it went really well, would you like to switch to recurring? And so, and then I offered her the same discount depending on which package she chose. And then she converted, and now it's $375 every 2 weeks rather than just a $600 job. It's now recurring every 2 weeks. So really, it's that first job is the try. It's just never free because we're in the premium. We're in the premium category here.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that. And so for your business model here, for your marketing model, right? You have a try stage, which is that first clean, right? You've got, you could have an email list here at the subscribe stage, but then what you're really doing, your core offer is that recurring payment that you're trying to get people to, settle in and let us be your cleaning company, and you pay us each month. And that's fantastic, obviously, for a lot of reasons, including smoothing out your revenue so you don't have that, spiky revenue from month to month, and you're always hunting for new customers. So, and then you get into the back end after the sale where you want people to succeed. In other words, you want them to get the value that you sold them, because a lot of people think marketing is over after they make the sale. Like, ooh, woo, we made the sale. But of course, people want to succeed with the product that they purchased or the service, in this case, that they purchased. They want to ascend. They want to buy more, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the fastest ways to make more money is to sell more to the existing customers you already have, right? So it might be, a deep clean once, so you add an upsell deep clean once a month, right? So it's like, you want to add this, it's another $150 a month, but you're going to get a deep clean. We're going to come in and do that. So they ascend and spend more. And then of course, promote, where people take and start to tell other people about it. And all of these things can be done intentionally. When I said earlier that if you have customers in your business, or any business has customers, there is a journey in place. It just may or may not be intentional, right? And so people that describe their business as in this way, where they say, we don't do any marketing, like we don't have any marketing, what they're really saying is we've never thought through anything intentional about any one of these stages. And I'll say one more thing about the journey here, and that is, you want to take a look at a graphic like this, and you want to say, I'm going to go to work on this one stage, right, of this journey, and I'm going to build something intentional and put energy and time and maybe even a budget if you do paid traffic or whatever, but you're putting time, energy, sometimes even money behind actually starting to intentionally impact some stage in this journey. So it could be that you want to focus on, a lot of people like to focus on this subscribe and try stage, because that's new acquisition, like new customers coming in. Other people might want to focus on upselling and cross-selling. Like, let me take, this morning, 2-3 hours and make a plan. And this is a great time to use your strategic advisor, right? Is to go in there and say, I want to work on this upselling. What ideas do you have? What thoughts do you have about taking the existing customers I have and giving them more, right? More value, so that they'll pay us more, right? And get more lifetime value out of that customer. Or you could work at any one of these stages, but it's a really instructive thing to think about your business through this lens, right? And that's why we train this AI as a thinking partner with you that understands this, so you have something in common. So any thoughts on this or questions before we jump forward?
Nothing so far in the comments, but I would say this is exactly why I love using the AI tools, Russ, is that you've trained it, well, taught me how to train it through this whole process. And so every single email I write understands that. And it's also the emotional part of it. So I've found sometimes, like if I just use a generic AI that doesn't know my business and doesn't know the customer journey, it'll just kind of give me this robotic slop. Whereas this one understands, like, there's an emotional aspect for the customer, which is the transformation from stressed, overwhelmed to relief of having a cleaning service that shows up on time, does it right every time, listens to them. We talk a lot on this channel about mirroring, repeating back what the client says, and having my AI be trained so that it does that in a way that seems natural and organic, and not, just a ton of emojis, which is like a sign that it's AI. Anyway, so this is the gold, is the customer journey.
Yeah, and even now, if you went into my instructions here and just took this, what looks like a bunch of junk, because this is a markdown table, and I can explain to you what's in here. But basically, suffice to say that what we taught this AI when we pasted this in is we taught it this whole customer journey. And so when you do come in here and you say something like, I own a cleaning company, even this will work, right? We're going to make this way better. But like you said, I'd like to work on some ideas at the ascend stage. How do I sell more to these people? It's going to leverage its instructions of the customer journey, because it's got that set of instructions inside of it. And just giving it a little bit of context here that I own a cleaning company is going to start to specialize its output. It's going to start to say, I understand you own a cleaning company. So now I can get a lot more specific about ideas here. I can focus, specifically on cleaning companies. So I brought this up because the next section that I want you to really lean into, really lean into this part, because this is why this works. So by adding even this little bit of information here, we're going to get much better output when we start to give it the context that this is about the ascend stage, which you have instruction about, but it's also about a cleaning company. So that bit of context is going to make your output about 1,000 times better. Now let's look at ways to make this 10,000 times better. Okay. So lean into this part, because this is the big aha moment for most people when they're working with AI. And this section is about the most important word in AI, which is context. So Victoria mentioned earlier, these AIs are extremely knowledgeable, very powerful, super fast, all these things, right? And they're amazing, but they still don't know what you're working on. They don't know your business. They don't know anything about it. And so there's a couple of problems that occur when you don't really understand how to use the AI well. And that is, the first one's called the cold start problem. The cold start problem is, and I'm sure some of you guys feel this, right? Every time you start to use an AI, you got to start over, right? You got to tell it all these things and, try to explain to it what you're doing and, what you sell and who you sell to and all these things in order to get any sort of decent output. And if you don't do that, right, you fail to do that, then you get the boiled chicken problem. The boiled chicken problem is that, what did you say? It does your head in?
It does my head in. It's AI slop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you speak with an AI that has no context, it's going to do the best job that it possibly can to try to help you, right? So it's trying to be helpful. If I go back into ChatGPT and I just start with a regular chat and I ask it stuff like, I want to work on some ideas at the ascend stage. Well, this AI doesn't know what the heck you're talking about. It doesn't know you own a cleaning company. It doesn't know.
Oh, it's reading your drive.
Things. Now my AI is pretty good because it's connected to my Google Drive and all kinds of stuff. So I have a hard time making my AI do poorly because of the way I've structured it. But when you speak to an AI that, imagine going up to the smartest business advisor on the planet. Like, this person is the best, right? Super intelligent, super knowledgeable, all these things. And you walk up, never seen you before in your life. They're just walking through the mall or something. And you walk up to me and say, how do I grow my business? You just grab the guy. Yeah, how do I grow my business? And you don't give them any other information. They have to respond, right? They have to respond to that. What they're going to give back to you is going to be boiled chicken. It's going to be a perfectly serviceable answer and a, intelligent answer, but it's going to be an answer with, that could apply to any business because you've not given this AI the right information. So our job when we're using AI is to give it the right context, the right information, and to do it we're going to do this today by building out further our strategic advisor to have more information about us so that every time you use this AI, it already knows that you own a cleaning company. It knows how your business is structured. It knows what your goals are. It knows who you serve and who you're trying to reach, what their problems are. That's what we need to go and set up. So if I get a little bit deeper into this, don't go to sleep on me here, because this is the part to pay attention to. It's a teensy bit boring maybe, but it's one of those things where it's like, wow, I really needed to understand that. So lean into this section where I talk about context. Context is the knowledge and instructions that we give an AI that inform and guide its responses, right? So it's any instructions, just like basically what context is to you or I, right? Like, if you give me a little bit of information, I can tailor my response based on that context. It's the same thing here. So the second thing that you need to understand is that there's something in the AI called the context window, right? Now, the context window is, like, you think about it as a container, and inside of it is all the short-term memory of that AI. What is that AI thinking about when it responds to you? So we have the context, the instructions and all that, and then we've got the context window. Think of it like a container containing all of its memory and its short-term memory. So AI models, like we've been talking about, like ChatGPT, incredibly knowledgeable. Like, they have taken in the internet into their brain, right? Like, they've literally went out there. It was kind of weird when we all learned how these things work, right? Where we were like, what'd they do? And it's like, well, they went and they went and vacuumed up every word and every video and they put it into their brain, and they just sit there with this giant knowledge base. So let's call this part of the AI, let's call this the base knowledge. All right. So this is the base knowledge of the AI. Now, the second thing we need to introduce is that thing, the context window. So we have the base knowledge and we have the context window. So down here, it knows everything. It knows the last time that a Canadian baseball team was in the World Series, right? Like, when was that?
32 years ago, and we're in it now, people.
that is going to be no trouble for an AI to come back with that answer, right? The base knowledge is vast, right? The context window is different. It's limited, right? So it has a size to it. And the way we measure what goes inside that little window there, in other words, what the AI is thinking about when it responds to you, the way we measure that is by tokenizing all of the stuff that we put in the AI, whether it's text, images, video, audio. It gets tokenized. It gets chopped up into little pieces. And if you want to oversimplify this a little bit, which I do all the time, I'm like, please keep it simple, is one word is one token, right? So if you have 100,000 words, that's 100,000 tokens, roughly, that the AI is trying to remember inside that context window. So inside of this window, for example, in ChatGPT today, this window is about 400,000 tokens. That's a lot of tokens. It's a lot of words. You know, a business book, for example, is roughly 50, 60,000 words, right? So maybe 50, 60,000 tokens. So the size of this context window is quite large. It can hold a lot of information inside of that window. The trick here is that you have control over this window. So there is control here and there's no control here. Like you have no ability to add it or take away any information from this AI space knowledge. That was chosen by Google. It was chosen by OpenAI or Anthropic or whoever made the tool, right? They decided what's going to go into its space knowledge. You do have quite a bit of control over what ends up in its short-term memory, in its immediate memory, that whatever it's considering right now when you're talking to it. This is important to understand because this is dynamic. Like we can change what the AI is thinking about. And it literally is your ability to put the right information into that short-term memory. That's how you master AI. That's how all of a sudden you go, whoa, like this thing really is useful to me right now. So learning about this is important. So if we had 128,000 tokens size window, let's say, and we put a prompt in there into the AI and then it responds and we do another prompt and a response. Let's say we used 2,500 tokens. So if we go back in here and we look at this, I put some tokens in and it put some tokens out, right?
Yeah.
And then I put some more tokens in and some tokens came out. Okay, so your job is to figure out how do I get the right tokens into that AI's context window? How do I make it consider the right information so that it can do what I'm trying to get it to do? Yeah,
exactly.
What were you gonna say?
Yes. This is the magic.
It is the magic. So if we think about the types of things that we want an AI to know and consider pretty much all the time when we are working on business growth, which is what we want to do, grow that cleaning business, right? The two bits of information that we always want the AI to have access to are the persona and the offer, right? So in other words, what do we sell and who do we sell to? So I want you to again imagine that you saw that business consultant in the mall again. And this time, rather than just grabbing him by the shirt and saying, hey, you know, like, how do I grow this business? Instead, you first say, please read these two documents. Okay, read. I want you to understand what I sell and who I sell to. Now, how do I grow this business? Well, now you're going to get incredible information back from that consultant. The same thing happens here. If I feed the right bits of information to the AI, the results are astonishing. If I fail to give the results, you get boiled chicken, right? Every time, every single time. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to make sure that in that context window, we have a persona and an offer document that is attached. So maybe at this point, if I've got two documents that are roughly a few pages long, maybe I've got 15,000 tokens. You know, I've got some prompts and responses in there, plus these files, right? That tell the AI what I sell and who I sell to. Maybe I'm using 15,000 tokens there. So I have plenty of room, right, for more information to go in and out of this AI. So one of the things you'll see me doing today as we keep moving along here and build this out, one of the things you'll see me doing is doing something I like to call context chunking, which is incrementally introducing context into the window, right? So if you know something that you want to work on, you start to introduce that context a little bit at a time, right? You might bring in a file here and a prompt there, and maybe, you know, have it do some research and then include that. And so it really is this sort of maestro type skill that you develop when you're using the AI right. When it feels like, wow, I'm really in sync here and I'm getting a lot done and it's super high quality and all that stuff. It's because you're mastering the context window. And when you do that, like the AI can do a whole lot of work for you, simply because you developed this skill. So again, we're going to be building the strategic advisor. That was the end of the boring part. And now we're going to build the actual advisor. Okay. So we're going to go to jointheclick.ai/build-sa.
Yep.
If you haven't already. And we already got started here. We built, and I'm going to just show you a couple things here. So we're going to go back into the strategic advisor and click edit GPT. And I am going to put this little addition on here because I've got my own strategic advisor. Does it make this? I'm going to call this Russell's
Cleaning company.
Yeah, Russell's Cleaning Service.
Nice.
Okay. So we're going to build an advisor here. And so I'm going to go back into my strategic advisor here. And the first thing I want to do is build out an offer document. Now, I was wondering whether, Victoria, you would want to show your documents.
Yeah, sure. Let me pull it up.
And I'll get started on helping them think through this. But inside of the folder, there is another folder called examples. So if you go to jointheclick.ai/build-sa, and then you click on the examples, you're going to open this up and you're going to find that there's 3 documents in there. And you can either click on this little drop down here and download all 3 of them at the same time, or you can download each one separately. But you're going to want to take these down to your computer so that you've got them handy.
Okay, I have my offer. If you want me to share it.
Yeah, I'll show them these here.
Yeah.
It opened these up as Word docs. I didn't know these were in here as Word docs. I hate Word docs.
That's funny that it didn't automatically just make them Google Docs.
Oh, they are Google Docs. Okay, thank Lord. I just didn't know that. I didn't know that I could just double click there. Okay. All right. So here's a persona document. Now, there's a million ways to build a persona document. I've been building them since a long time ago, right? We started building persona documents that just basically say, here's who we want to serve. But this particular document has been purpose built for an AI to understand. Run through it really quickly, and then I'll run through the offer document. And then we can take a look at a more purpose built one that's built for a cleaning company. So with Victoria's stuff. Mm-hmm. But you can see that I very clearly call this customer persona, give the persona a name. And then one of the things that's really great to give an AI is this statement here that says, this is why you exist, why this document exists, right? Like why, and because this is going to be one of the very first things that the AI sees, right? When it reads this from top to bottom, and all of these tokens up here are going to help impact how it thinks about the rest of the document. So it's basically like this document defines the ideal customer persona for a company called Panda Books. This is, again, just an example here. Focused on small business owners. This is the market they're in. I have a little section here on product, service, fit. And then this here, right here, this is the most critical part of any persona document that you're going to give an AI or give to anybody, in fact. Because when we're in business, I mean, you're in business to solve people's problems. We talked about that in the customer journey, right? Making people problem and solution aware and all that stuff. And so it's really instructive to take some time and really make sure that you like your pain points and challenges section of your persona. Because if you were just going to give an AI one bit of information about the person that you serve, it would be this section here. In fact, I've been doing marketing for a long time, and I often say, if you tell me what I'm selling and what the problem is, I can do a reasonable job of building the marketing around that. But without either one of those bits of information, I don't know what we're selling, or I don't know who I'm selling to. I have a really hard time and maybe just make sales kind of accidentally. But when you try to build marketing without knowing what the problem is or what you're selling, you have massive headwinds, right? You're just kind of guessing about like whether or not people will respond to this or respond to that. And the opposite is true. When you know the problem and you know what you're selling, it makes marketing so much easier. Like it's like, oh my God, like, okay, I see. And it'll make your AI, when it's able to make the connection between, okay, here's the problem, these people, and then here's the offer that we have. It's magic, right? Like it feels like magic because the thing actually has the information it needs to build really strong marketing for you. So that section's important. Less important would be things like demographics and psychographics. But you can see that there's nothing necessarily magical about the way that I've structured this document. You could build personas in any number of ways. You could build them as a narrative. You could build them as whatever. This for me is the way that I like to structure them, using bullets, using headings, so that the AI can really easily read through the document and understand the document. That's the persona document. And then the offer document is just what it sounds like. Notice there's no design here, right? I don't need to make this pretty. I don't need to worry about that. What I want to make sure is that it's clear, right? Like everything in here is super clear. So I've got the offer name, the purpose of the document, once again, the core product or service. And this is the way I structured this one for a fake software company that we use a lot in the Click Pro as an example, right? Because I like to have real examples that we're working on. So this one's just walks through the pricing plans of this software company, the bonuses, the payment terms, the guarantee, and this kind of stuff. So all this is just a clear description of what it is we're selling and who we're selling to. Now let's jump in and see what you've got. Do I need to turn off my screen here?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see.
I'm going to remove your stuff. There we go. Okay, so I will actually drop this into our Stan store in the next couple of days for anybody who wants to grab this and then edit it for their own companies, just to make it easy for you. So I actually took your updated workshop yesterday. So you got really good timing, Russ, because I just updated this yesterday. So you can see who this is for. So our target demographic are busy people. It's not people with lots of time on their hands. And it's people who want online booking, automated scheduling, reliable communication, and they're homes that are actually pretty clean. So we're not going after like hordes or really bad cleans. And then we've got not a fit. So if somebody wants to direct the cleaners, and the reason for that is our cleaners hate that. So I've got to keep my cleaners happy. So it's really like hands-off type of cleaning. Or if they need like, they need it to be perfect in one clean, that's not going to happen. And post-con cleaning, which ironically enough, we do, but not for the general consumer. That's only for companies. Okay. And then we walk through how it works. And then this is our primary focus, which is recurring cleaning. So, every 2 weeks, every week, whatever. And then I've gone a little nerdy here and included everything that we actually do. And that's simply because clients often ask, and now my AI knows the answer rather than me having to correct the AI. No, we don't dust every knickknack, so this is all in here. And then the optional services, these are the, kind of extras that we provide. And then this is for upselling. And then we've got all of our discounts, like really everything is in here, as well as our satisfaction guarantee. And then all of the, notifications, key policies, our insurance, our contact details, everything is in the offer. And then I'll show you our persona document. So I don't know why, but chat loves the name Jordan for all of our clients. It loves Jordan. But I also created Nancy. And so Nancy is the opposite of Jordan. And I created this yesterday using your new model, which is pain to pleasure. I love this model. Yeah. I love it, love it, love it. So going from, time pressure and overload is the first thing. So keeping a house clean is time consuming, flat out exhausting after work with kids. And that's my ideal demo. They're too busy. And so our pleasure line, buy your weekends back, come home to a clean home every time. And then this is another one. This is based on deep research. What are people actually complaining about when they complain about cleaning companies? This is number one complaint. It's unreliable and inconsistent. So one week the crew's great. The next it's subpar. I just want reliable service. And so that's how we solve that problem. And you can keep going through. But yeah, I don't know. Russ, are you going to show how they do the deep research on the customer's pain points?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So this is great. And you can see how handing an AI that level of detail about what you sell and who you sell to, it basically turns your AI into instantaneously an expert. It doesn't forget things, right? Like the way that a human would, right? Where if you had somebody that you said, hey, what's our service guarantee? And they worked for you, they might forget. Like they might be like, I don't know. I think I kind of remember reading it one time. The AI doesn't forget this kinds of stuff, right? Like it doesn't forget your AI's or your persona's pain points. It doesn't forget what your pricing is. It doesn't forget any of these things. So I do want to go through a couple of other slides here that I think are instructive and new. Let me pull those up. I'll turn my screen back on.
Perfect.
Okay, so I wanted to show you one other slide here that might help to drive all this home. I pull it up. So it's this slide here. So I want to introduce this concept called grounding. Okay, so grounding is anchoring the AI's response in trusted sources or context. So one of the other major problems that we have with AI is called hallucination. Have you ever heard of people saying like, oh, this AI just makes things up, right? It just like you ask it what our cleaning company's pricing is, and it makes it up, right? It doesn't answer properly. And the thing is, it won't typically tell you like, I don't know the answer to the question.
That's why it drives me crazy.
It's nuts. It's crazy, right? Like it's not trying to lie to you. It's literally just trying to predict the next token, right? There's nothing malicious necessarily about the AI. It's just an unfortunate side effect of how powerful these AIs are, is that occasionally they make things up, right? So the way we avoid this is we use something called grounding, which is to anchor the AI's response in trusted sources or context. When you set your AI up the way that we're setting it up today, you will see almost zero hallucinations. Like you will almost never get hallucinations. In fact, like when I see a hallucination these days, I'm like, wow, like I haven't seen it make things up in a long time. And it's because I'm anchoring the AI's responses in trusted sources and context. And it wants that context. So for example, if you asked it how much Victoria's cleaning service costs, and it's got a document that it can reference about that, it almost will never fail on that. I mean, the AIs have got so good at finding the right information that you're talking to it about that
Mhm.
you almost reduce hallucination to zero when you ground your AI. So the things that we can ground an AI in are things like attachments, right? So you could bring in a document and literally attach it to the AI, right? Like you just add the file here and you say, I want you to reference this document. And presumably you have control over what's in that document. It might be sources or context that you believe in, right? Like that you created yourself or you vetted as a trusted source. So what we want to be doing with AI is grounding it in attachments. We can ground it in web search, right? So we can tell the AI, go look at my website or go look at this web page or this document on the web and have it go ground itself in that, right? And so that reduces hallucination and increases quality tremendously because it's like, okay, I've got something to go off of, right? I've got this document, this attachment. I'm going to come back to this deep research one. The other things we have are things like grounding the AI in custom instruction. So remember, the very first thing we did together today was we copied some custom instructions and pasted it in there. Well, we had control over those instructions. I taught it the customer journey, right? And I taught it the way I teach it. And I trust that source and I paste it in there as instruction. And now I've got this AI grounded in those instructions. We can also do something called attach things to the knowledge base, which we're going to do here today as well. And so I'll come back to that. And then external data. And this is becoming more and more of a thing. Did you see earlier when I said I have a hard time getting my AI to fail these days? Is because I've got this thing connected now to other external sources like my Google Drive. So it was trying to figure out what I was talking about when I said ascend stage, and it went into my Google Drive. So where I keep my folders and looked up and found information about the ascend stage and the customer journey and all of that stuff and pulled it in. So that's an example of me connecting my AI to an external data source. So for example, this will be very, very doable and possible and something to pay attention to is, there's going to be a time, like, let's say you've got your Google Calendar or something you're using to organize your cleaning schedule, right? Like who's at what house and when and where, right? And I'm not sure if that's the tool that you recommend, Victoria, but let's just pretend it is. It'd be very, very simple for you to connect your ChatGPT account to your Google Calendar as an external source and ground that AI. And then you can start to say things like, when's the next open slot we have for, or you get what I'm saying? So like,
it's really
we're
cool.
not quite there yet. It's still a little bit unpredictable what it does with this, but external sources is becoming more and more of a thing. And I've never actually, I was surprised here. I've never seen it do such a good job as it did searching Google Drive just then live on this call. So one of the exciting things about AI is if you use it every day, you'll see it just getting gradually better each day, right? And these external sources are going to become more and more of a thing for us. And there is going to be, in my opinion, a time where you'll spend less and less time outside of a platform like ChatGPT because it'll be connected to everything and just go grab what it needs or go make adjustments to your calendar, go in and set up a meeting over there and do all these things, right? And you'll work from inside this dashboard that's grounded in external sources like applications and so on. So let's come back to two really important ways we can ground an AI: deep research and knowledge base. We're going to do those next two things in the next 20 minutes.
Amazing.
And hopefully get you guys your full strategic advisor by that time. All right. So typically what I do when I want to build out very, very clear customer persona pain points is I use a tool called Deep Research. And this might become your new favorite tool. If you listen to this and you haven't played around with Deep Research, it's a really, really powerful way of using an AI. So I'm going to stay inside of my strategic advisor here, and I'm going to start to chunk some context into here. I'm going to start to work on a little bit of context. So I'm going to say, I have a cleaning company here in St. Louis. Wanting to research the pain points of my ideal customer. This person has enough money. So I'm just going to give it whatever I kind of comes off the top of my head. I used to give people prompts that they literally could copy and paste in for something like this. I want you to do this with me. Like, actually type something like this out about your own company. Like, I've got a cleaning company in whatever town. I'm getting ready to research the pain points of my ideal customer. And I'm going to put in there, for me, I'm going to put in there, this person has enough money to pay a cleaning company. And I'm not going to worry about the typos because it's really good at understanding what I'm saying. To clean at least twice per month.
Perfect.
Yeah, something like that. And I'm going to say, I want to build a research plan. This is important. Watch this, okay? I say, I want the AI to build me a research plan. So build me a research plan that I can give to another AI to find the actual voice of the customer and that person's pain points, challenges. What else could we put there? Pain points, challenges.
Common complaints.
Common complaints. So the reason I don't give you any more prompts, I'm trying not to give people copy and paste prompts anymore, is because this is how you learn how to use this tool. I want you to realize there's nothing magical about what I've done here. I've just basically said, well, I got a cleaning company in St. Louis. I'm wanting to research the pain points of my ideal customer. This person has enough money to pay a cleaning. So this is a little bit about what I know about this person. Like, they got money, you know?
Yeah.
And if we go with Victoria's, thing where she's like, I'm not looking for people that are, I can tell it that too. I'm not looking for people that are hoarding, or are not keeping their property clean. I'm looking for people with scarce time and
ample money.
Ample money. I mean, literally. Okay, so then I said I want to build a research plan. So this is my directive to the AI. I want you to build a research plan that I can give to another AI to find the actual voice of the customer and that person's pain points, challenges, common complaints. I want you to research actual sources and return verbatim quotes.
That's the key.
They use. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you could do it this way, or you could have it do whatever you want. Yeah, I'm gonna say I want to categorize these complaints, pain points. Let's just see how this does. I love saying that to myself. Let's see how that does. So I'm going to run this, right? I'm just going to let my strategic advisor create me a research plan that researches the voice of the customer. What I'm looking for is actual people saying things like, man, I wish, my complaining about lack of time,
Mhm.
or like what are some of the pain points that you came up with there? You can see that it's starting to search the web a little
Yeah.
bit here.
So it's already doing the research rather than creating the plan, which is fine. But yeah, so I think, one of the kind of expressions that I use all the time for our own cleaning company is the quote, "No more wasting time searching for a cleaner." And then best clean ever or best cleaners ever. So really focused on time, quality of cleaning, reliability, the no more wasting time. Yeah, it's going all over the place. Look at this.
I've seen it do this to me before, and it's actually does a dang good job here. It's like a mini deep research
Yeah,
that it's doing
it
right
loves
now.
Reddit.
I'm
So
not sure that it won't come back with an actual research plan here, but we'll
it
see.
might, yeah.
But you can see that this thing is, um, I love it. It thought for a minute, 20 seconds. So yeah, it did come back with the research plan. Okay,
Yeah.
so now I might want to come in here and read through this heavily and try to make sure that I like its plan. Okay, but this is literally like a plan. It's going to go out there and conduct this research on our behalf and return back with a um, a bunch of verbatim quotes. I just want to make sure I read through this, and for the sake of time, I'll probably just run basically what it has here.
Yeah.
But you can read through here, and if it didn't get it right, you can have it adjust the plan. But basically, I'm saying find the ICP and scope, so we'll pull the right voices, dual income families. This looks pretty nice. Empty nesters. That sounds like a great customer there. Just an empty nester who doesn't want to mess around. These are some of the more wealthy suburbs of St. Louis. So it got that right. Okay, so I think it did a pretty darn good job. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this little plus. Did I lose my deep research?
I don't think you can do it within. Can you do it within the strategic advisor?
Yeah.
Or do you have to do it outside of it?
Well, one of the things I can do right now, because for whatever reason, it took my little tool away.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and copy this.
And then just do it in a generic GPT, right?
Yeah.
So this deep research, when you're on the $20 a month plan, just so that the viewer knows, you are capped on the number of times you can do deep research, and it'll tell you when you've, almost reached your limit. I probably conduct deep research every day, and every month I end up capped where I'm like, I've got, one more that I can run. Russ has the $200 a month plan. None of us need that in the cleaning business space. It's just because he coaches AI stuff. There you go. Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and there's a set of tools in here that you can turn on. This one is called Deep Research, and you can connect like things like your Google Drive, but we want to make sure that web search is turned on there. We want it to go and scrape the internet looking for voice of the customer. So I'm going to go ahead and run that, and it's going to ask me a couple of questions. It always does this. So I'm going to just answer those. There's nothing magic about the answers here either. Like, it's not like you can do this wrong. You just kind of can't, right? Like, just answer the questions however you feel like they should be answered. So I'm going to, it typically asks about time frames.
Competitor brands. That's interesting. It asked you that. I would say no. Yeah.
So it's asking how you want a downloadable spreadsheet. I'm going to ask it to give me the output in a set of tables. So I want tables just so it's nice and organized. And now it's going to go out and start to do that research. And it'll go off for, 15 or 20 minutes. And when it comes back, it's going to return. You ended up seeing what Victoria had in her persona. She had all of that voice of the customer in her persona document, and that's really, really good stuff. Like when you're using the language of your actual customer back to them, right? That is really strong marketing, because you're actually like speaking the language that they use. I'm going to show you another trick here. Let's go on to the offer side of this. I'll show you another trick, because like I said, if you go to jointheclick.ai/build-sa, you're going to find that there is that examples folder is in there. And the reason I put those in there is because when you give an AI an example of something, it will nail it. Like it will just be like, because it's just such a good pattern recognition system. Like it sees the pattern, it understands when you show it an example. And this is true in almost any instructions that we give an AI. If we want to give it an example of what that output should look like, right? So one of the things you can do when you go to build anything using an AI is give it something, I call it clay. All right. So give it some clay that it can shape for you, and give it something to start, give you something to start with. So because we want to go build an offer document and give it to our AI, I'm going to take this offer document. I'm going to download that, which I've already done. Right. So if you want to do this with me, you can just download this document, or open this document and download it from inside of Google Docs here. So I'm going to download this as a PDF file. I don't want to get into the markdown stuff unless you want.
That's fine. Yep.
So this is great, because now I have an offer that I like. I like this offer structure. I'm not going to use the PandaBooks cloud accounting software offer for my cleaning company, of course, but I'm going to use it as a model to get me started. So I go back into my strategic advisor here, just by selecting it in the left panel there. And I'm going to start chunking in some context. Like, what am I trying to do? So I'm going to say, I want to build an offer document that I can use as part of the knowledge base of strategic advisor. Basically just saying what I'm trying to do, right? And I'm going to tell it that I want you to move the contents of this document into a canvas. Okay, so a couple things I'm going to stress here is, one, that I'm going to anchor this AI. I'm going to go grab that PDF document on the downloads. There's that offer PDF right there. I'm going to put it into the context window, right? I'm going to make sure that this AI has this document, and I'm going to say, hey, put this into something called a canvas. I love Canvas. Okay, so Canvas is really great whenever you're writing or planning or outlining. Anything you're doing when you're creating something with words is to use Canvas. So again, they've shut this off, but it will know that it will pop a canvas for me. So I want you to build I want to build an offer document I can use as part of my knowledge base. I want you to move the contents of this document into a canvas so I can use it as a template. So by giving it this instruction, and I gave it a model, it's just going to essentially drop this over here into this canvas for me as a template. And this is really great. And it does it with crazy speed. Jeez. So this is what I mean when I say it's giving me some clay to work with. So I can go from basically having nothing to boom, I've got a template here. And now I might go and start to either edit this myself, right? So I can use this and I can start to put in stuff with my fingers, right? Or in my brain, or I can use the AI over here. So I might say something like populate the offer document with a great offer from a local cleaning company in St. Louis. Just kind of get me a little bit further down the line here with a little more clay, right? So I'm literally talking to the AI about this document that's sitting in the canvas. So I say populate the offer with a great offer from a local cleaning company in St. Louis. Let's just see how it does with that. And so what it's going to do is I'm using the AI to edit this document. And what I've done now is I've gotten myself a little bit further down the line. I've got a lot more clay to work with. It's put something in here. Now, the other thing that I could do is, let's say I have a website that maybe Victoria's website, for example, and I can say, hey, go look at Victoria's website and put her offer into here, because I want to sort of mirror the offer that Victoria's displaying on her website. Or let's say you have a brochure, right? Like something that you hand around, like you've got a PDF brochure that contains your offer and what you sell and all of the different things that you clean and all the things are in there somewhere. Or you have some other document to ground the AI, you can pull that into the conversation. So you could, so many different ways that you could go about getting this information, all the way down to, oh, and woe is me, this is a crazy thought, we would have to type it in there with our own fingers and actually do it the way we would do it before AI. There's a lot of ways to get this AI to cut 75% of this work down for you. The first one was that we used a model, right? So we pulled in an example offer document, just said, let's start with this clay. Let's use this structure as a template. Now, you can apply this to so many different things. Let's say you're building a social media content calendar, right? And you go find a content calendar that someone shared on the internet somewhere, and you're like, I like this. This is a good place to start. Download it, drop it into the AI, and say, let's build a content calendar. Let's start with this as the model, and it'll instantly like start to set you up, and then you can work on it from there, right? Like, or if you're let's say you are starting to create like proposal documents for new clients, right? Like something you would hand a client that says, here's what you get and stuff like that. I'm quoting you this price. And you're like, well, I don't know. I don't have that document. And either Victoria gives you something, or you find something somebody else is using and you have a template, drop it into the AI and say, okay, put that over into a canvas, or let's use this as a template and get started from here. That's going to cut. Again, you can do this with just about anything that you're working on. There's going to be something you can grab to get you halfway there, right off the bat. But you can see that what we've got here now is a pretty detailed explanation, and just kind of, made this up. You would definitely want to put your offer information in over here, however you end up getting it in here. And then you can go and copy this, right? So you're going to copy that. And then what I always do is I use Google Docs. I think AI and Google Docs are good buddies. So I'm going to start a new doc, and I'm just going to paste in my offer. I'm just going to clean this up real quick. I love that I have an office shine plan. That makes me happy. So having this document, okay, so now I'm going to download this. Why does this stuff bother me, Victoria? I have to clean this up. So I've got a nice document here. I use this just to indicate that this is an offer document. And I'm going to download this as a PDF. So next step, I've got my, did it do it? Oh, there it goes. All right, let's go back into my strategic advisor. Your strategic advisor here, you can access it always in the left there, and click on Edit GPT. And now we're just going to stick this offer document into its brain. So there's this section inside of a GPT called the knowledge base, and it's basically just files. Like you can attach many different file types to a knowledge base. They are accepting more and more different types of files, but your standard ones are going to be like PDFs, CSV files, which are like spreadsheets. You can attach images to it that you want it to know about and think about. And basically, this is like, consider this AI's sort of, documents that it needs to reference when it is doing its job, right? So whatever AI you're building, you might have slightly different documents that you're going to attach. But as I said before, there's nothing more important. If you're working on business growth and you're working on growing your business, there are two documents that you always want to attach. One is the offer document. So there's my Russell's Cleaning Service document. And the second one we're still working on, which is our persona document. If you attach these two things, your AI becomes remember I said it's 1,000 times better when you put the instructions in, and 10,000 times better when you attach the offer and the persona. So here I've got this attached now, and I click update. And I click view GPT. Now we can do some stuff, right? If we go back into our instructions document, in fact, down here, I've got some example exercises that you can run to kind of get an idea of what this AI is capable of. I don't have a persona attached just yet, but let's see how it does with this. So I'm going to take this first exercise. I want to develop a strategic approach for increasing awareness of my offer with my persona. The goal is to create a long-term awareness strategy that positions my business effectively. So just a simple like, hey, let's work on awareness for the business right now. Remember I told you it can be really instructive to think about your business through the lens of this customer journey. Your strategic advisor is set up to have these conversations if you want to. So I am going to start this conversation here. And I'm just going to give it a little idea of who my persona is because I have nothing attached right now. Let's go with that empty nester. All right, so running that. So what's happening now is I'm now working inside of an AI that understands that I sell Russell's Cleaning Services. This is what I clean. This is what I don't clean. This is how much it costs. This is all the stuff, right? I'm working with an AI that has context about my offer. And when I get that persona in there, especially those pain points in there, we're going to have an AI that's real, because the only context I've given it now so far is just, hey, it's an empty nester with enough money to hire a house cleaner twice per month. So you can see that I've asked it to help me develop an awareness strategy. And remember that the two problems that we can have when we're using AI, the first one's the cold start problem. Now, the cold start happens because you don't have anything saved and put anywhere that's persistent. That's why you want to build this GPT. You want to build a GPT, attach these documents, set it and forget it, right? So that next time you wake up the next morning, you're going to do a little bit of marketing work, you open up your strategic advisor and boom, you're off, right? It already knows what you sell, who you sell to, it knows, and it has its set of instructions. So that's the cold start problem. The second problem is that boiled chicken problem, where it just gives you that average, gobbledygook back because it doesn't have any context. But you can see now, just by adding the instructions that we did right at the beginning, and then adding the offer as a set of context, that this AI is really giving me some customized advice about my business and helping me think about something and doing it instantaneously. Does that make sense, Vic? Oh, I lost you. Are you on mute?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And it's asking you, I like how at the end it's asking you about more specific information, clarify the persona psychographics, which is what your deep research is currently working on.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if it's done yet. Okay.
32
so you
sources.
can see.
Not bad.
So what's that?
I said not bad. 32 sources. That's faster than I could look at 32 different sources.
Yeah, so a couple things on deep research, and then maybe you can share how you use it, because I think you even use it more than I do. So a couple things about deep research. One of the things that you can do to become better at AI, I believe, is to read through when it gives you this kind of stuff on the right, which is it's basically telling you how it's behaving, what it's thinking about when it's doing this research. You can see it's running all around. It's going to the Better Business Bureau here. It's gone to Angie's List, or what is called Angie.com now, Trustpilot. Is that what Angie's List used to be?
Mm-hmm. Yep, you got it.
A lot of Trustpilot.
Interesting what it considers a valid source. I love looking at this on the right whenever it's doing the deep research. And then sometimes afterwards I'll call it out and I'll say, okay, so you put a lot of emphasis on the Reddit posts. Do you believe that women between 30 and 50 years old that are earning between 100 and 200 grand a year, that is my ideal demographic, or are they on Reddit? And then it will go, oh no, you're right. Reddit skews more male and young. Perhaps I should weigh something else. And then, so we do a lot of like, I feel like my AI is like I really feel like it's like my business coach, but sometimes I have to rein it in and go, don't skew male. The majority of our clients are female. And it just automatically does skew male.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. This thing is crazy powerful, and it can help spark ideas, and it can help you extend your thinking, and it can even do work for you, but it doesn't replace you, not at all. Like, it's your sense of what this business is, your vision of what you want. It doesn't know these things, right? So it doesn't, and it won't always think like, yeah, well, since especially if I don't have, I gave it almost nothing in terms of information about the demographics of who I wanted it to research, the gender, like you mentioned, that your customers skew female. So, all of that might have impacted how it ultimately ends up going about doing this deep research. You can see it's finished here now.
Amazing.
And
I love how the customer quote, terrible communication. Like, you guys, if there's nothing else in the world that has validated that our cleaning company blueprint model is the way to go, more than doing deep research on what people are complaining about. Because everything we've set up here, to toot our own horns, is answering these exact complaints that people have in every city. There's no way to talk to them on the phone. Like, we're always like, just answer the phone. Many of the items were missed. They quickly charged my card. The owner laughed at me. They canceled, rescheduled. Like, how to make your clients mad. Dropped a piece of my.
So what's interesting is that, and I probably didn't read the deep research plan carefully enough because we were, moving through on time, but like what this has done is built voice of customers, very, very useful actually for people that might be in the market to switch cleaning companies, right? They're already using a cleaning service. So they're problem aware and solution aware, and they're even brand aware, like they're using an existing service. And so that's a part of your marketing, surely, right? Is to find people that are already using cleaning service and are open to switching because they're angry at their current situation because somebody's stealing stuff, or they're not showing up on time, or whatever. But then it would be interesting to run this research a second time and say, I want you to run this same research, but this time I want you to return with information, only research people that are not currently using a cleaning service at all, but might be in the market for it, right? So, okay, so I learned this trick at working at a company called Salesforce, like a big software company. They were obsessed with, and the CEO is obsessed with the voice of the customer, and really, really powerful to get these customer quotes. Wow, they even listed the offending company here.
Yeah. And it's interesting because this particular one, we would build this out. If I was doing this again, I would build it out much more in terms of what the research prompt is, because you can see it's really heavily focused on 3 sources, BBB, Trustpilot, and Angie, and it didn't look at Google reviews. And Google reviews are such an important resource. But for whatever reason, this AI decided not to use it. So yeah, this is maybe part of the reason I do use deep research so much. And I just get better and better every time I use it, because I go, okay, I've got to really give it the context that I'm looking for. Because otherwise it will automatically kind of just go for, 3 things rather than I want like 20.
Yeah. And if we would have looked at that deep research plan, we would have noticed, again, that's something it never would have occurred to me, because I'm not in the cleaning business, that Google reviews would be the first place probably you'd want to go look. And you can certainly adjust that deep research prompt and that research plan. And the more important, whatever it is you're researching, the more important it is to get it right, the more time you're going to want to spend to get that research plan right. Because as you can see, once you send the deep researcher off, it's 20-30 minutes, right? You go eat lunch and come back and it'll be done, but it's not like you can just adjust on the fly. You don't know what it's doing in the background. Well, let's see if we can take this all the way through to, and I want, if you're sitting there listening to this or watching the recording of this or something, how would you go and take this now, based on some things that you've learned today? What would be one of the things I love about AI is that there's a million different ways to arrive at the end result. You remember when we used to do the trainings in the Click Pro, where I was like, here's all the stuff we have, here's the problem we're trying to solve, let's try to find a solution to it. And we'd always end up going various different routes to get to the end. This is a very creative tool, right? And fun to use. One way I would go about this is I got this deep research. Now I might say to it, so I might use like a sort of an extract, like I want you to pull some stuff out of here. So I might say, create a bulleted list of pain points and challenges from this research. Categorize them. Let's see how it does with that. So it's telling it to categorize and pull all that. Oh,
is it starting the research again?
yeah.
It shouldn't. Yeah, stop that. Otherwise, I wonder if you need to. That's interesting. So I'll tell you what I would do with this from what I've learned from you, Russ, is I would take your sample persona. I would take this deep research. I would copy and paste that into my strategic advisor. And I would say, here's an example persona. Here's the deep research on what I know my market complains about. Can you create a new persona based on this? I'm pretty sure that's how I created my Jordan persona.
There's absolutely one way to go here, because it's, for whatever reason, it's not.
Yeah, it just wants to do the deep research again.
I'm going to copy that. So let's go into our strategic advisor here. Let's say I did some research on the voice of the customer. This is that research.
And by the way, for anybody who doesn't know, that little microphone button down at the bottom right of Russ's screen there, you can just dictate this as well, which I will do while I'm driving to the gym. I will have a whole conversation with my strategic advisor. I call it my verbal diarrhea, where I just dump all the thoughts I'm having in my head. And then I'll say, can you summarize what I just said? And then we'll have a whole discussion.
Doesn't look like it copied all my
it didn't.
Deep research.
Oh, maybe the copy button didn't work. Sometimes I find when it's in Canvas that it's a little funky. And then I have to just go ahead and, do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can see it's got all this in tables. So I didn't want to necessarily have to cover this, but I'm going to trust that you guys will hang with me here for this. So I'm going to paste all this in here. So that it preserves these tables like this. Because I believe if I was to go back over here and just paste it.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I would lose
the formatting.
All that table formatting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see it's not going to understand that all this stuff is in tables. So at the risk of freaking some of you out on this, but stick with me. This is going to be actually quite valuable part of this lesson. We got solid 10 minutes here left. We'll get over the line. So I'm gonna show you that this you can see that this is a table that the AI has created. And if I copy and just paste this in there, it's gonna strip out all that table formatting. It's not going to understand the relationship between, this is a row and this is a column. And so I want to show you another trick here, which is, these tables, if we want to preserve them and preserve all of this goodness in here that came out of our deep research, I want to copy this using a very simple sort of formatting language called Markdown. So if you're using Google Docs and you go into Tools, preferences there, just make sure you've got this little box ticked right here that says enable markdown. And I think you'll understand what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy all of this. Okay, so copy this entire document that I've pasted in here from my deep research, and I'm going to copy this as markdown. But this will be there if you have markdown turned on in your tools and preferences. And what happens is, so let me just show you what markdown looks like out here.
It's like what you first showed us. Yeah, it looks
It looks like gobbledygook, right, to us. But this is essentially, it's not essentially, it's precisely this table, right? So we're looking at this table, but we're looking at it in a markdown language, and that markdown, the AI understands it perfectly, right? Yeah. So remember earlier where I said those instructions look like gobbledygook? It's because there was a table in there, right? And the table is the one thing that looks goofy inside of markdown. Everything else just kind of, you can see that that's a heading, that's a heading. These two asterisks mean bold, and it helps the AI understand what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to copy all that markdown, and I'm going to bring that in here. And I say I did some research on the voice of the customer. This is that research. And I'm going to say extract all the pain points from this research and organize them into categories. And let's see how it does with that. But you can see that I've now taken that deep research and I've given it to it in a way it can understand, which was by using markdown. It's a little trick that you'll get the hang of it if you keep playing around with this stuff, that when you give, especially ChatGPT, the other ones work this way as well, but ChatGPT seems to do especially well with markdown. But you can see that it's now taken and categorized my pain points here. And again, why do we want this? Because this information, what is the pain of your customer, is really what your marketing needs to be focused on. It needs to be focused on bringing in what's the problem, what's it look like before, right? Like, oh, I'm starved for time, or, you know, in this case, we've got a bunch of pain points about people that don't like their existing cleaning service, right? They're not reliable, they're not punctual, they're bad communication responsiveness. If you can enter the conversation going on in that person's mind, like, hey, are you tired of your cleaning company not responding to you? You know, that's already going on in their mind. How do we know that that's going on in their mind? Well, we know because intuitively we kind of know from being human and knowing that there's that problem. But we also went and did all that deep research, pulls that information, gets the real voice of the customer. What are people upset about? You'll find things in here that you're like, wow, I never thought of that. You know, and I never thought of that. So the second thing that we can do is we can use that little trick that we talked about before, where I am going to bring a model of a persona in here. If I want to ultimately end up with a persona, I'm going to bring that persona example that I gave you guys in and attach that, make sure that gets into the context window there. And I'm going to say, use the attached persona as a model template to create my persona and use the pain points you've outlined above. And let's see how it does with that. So really pulling in this as a model is it's going to be like, okay, so you want me to use this as a model, and these up here are the pain points. Let's see, it's having a little bit of
taking a second. Yep.
It's got a hiccup. Sometimes it thinks it hiccuped and it didn't.
There you go. There we go.
So I'm just basically saying, like, hey, use this as a model, put my pain points in there, and let's just see how well it does with this.
Sarah, the busy St. Louis homeowner.
Okay, cool. So we're starting to get.
Oh, it's so good. Oh my gosh. It's so good. This is exactly our demographic. Everyone watching this, like, this is it right here. I shouldn't have to follow up or double check with work I already paid for. Yep.
Now I'm gonna ask it to put the persona into a canvas. So it didn't write that in a canvas, which is fine. I'm just gonna ask it to put it over in the canvas. Remember, the reason I do this is so that I can then get into this edit mode where I can make changes, remove things, add things, or I can use the AI over here to say, hey, expand on this section or expand on that section or remove this entire section or whatever, right? I can work with the AI on the left and I can work on the document with the document on the right. But so this is a place where you're going to want to spend a little bit of time, right? You're going to want to read through this and make sure that you like the persona as it's set, because think about how important this document is. This AI will always be trying to build marketing that solves this person's problems using your offer as the solution. So I'm going to copy this once I've got to where I like what it says. Just drop it into a Google Doc. Now, since I taught you Markdown, I might as well teach you the next thing, which is that when you turn Markdown on inside of Google Docs, it can be actually much more helpful, not required, but much more helpful to download these documents, not as PDFs, but instead as Markdown files. So .md files. You don't have to read them, so don't worry about it. You're just going to attach it to your AI. If you don't feel comfortable with Markdown and all that stuff, just use PDFs. They're fine. But it does read and it will have better access to the information that you want. So in other words, it just creates something that's much easier for that AI to access than the PDF. But the PDF is fine if that's what you want to use. So I'm going to download this just for this example as a Markdown file. Go back into my Strategic Advisor and click on Edit the GPT. And I'm going to attach, should see my Markdown file drop in there. There it goes. So this is just my persona converted into a .md file. Really easy for the AI to understand that Markdown file. Now, one other thing I'll bring up, there's the recommended model here. For a strategic AI like this, I like to turn the standard model in on for GPT-5 thinking. And all that does is it when you start using your Strategic Advisor, it will use that thinking model first, right? You can always change it and turn it off. And the reason you might want to do that at times is because the thinking model takes more time, right? It might take 10 or 15 seconds to think about something. Whereas if you turn on the instant model, man, it's fast, but it doesn't think as long, right? And I would say for a lot of things that you're working on, the instant model is fine, right? You want speed. But for a strategic AI like this, if you're working on it to make plans and all that stuff, you might want to work with the thinking model, let it give it a little more horsepower, right? I'm starting to think about it as horsepower, like how much compute time and thinking time does your AI use? But now you've got an AI here that has instructions as to how to think through the lens of a customer journey and grow a business, right? That was the very first thing we did. And then we went and attached 2 critical documents that we want to attach to any AI that we're working on when we're working on business growth. And that is the offer. This one's in a PDF, and the persona, which is this one's in a markdown. And now that we have these things in place, now we have an AI that is going to be 10,000 times better than your, just your new chat AI that doesn't have any context. So we can start working on things like, one of the best questions to ask our this AI is compare the pain points of our persona to the offer we are making. How could we improve the offer to meet the pain points? So basically say, hey, compare the two to each other. And I'm using the thinking mode. So it's going to put a few cycles on that, right? It's going to think about that for a second. It's going to look at my offer. It's going to look at my persona. It's going to say, hey, here's some things you could do, or at least play up in your marketing, right? That here's how you could adjust your offer to meet the pain points. Does that make sense, Vic? Really great question to ask. Because a lot of times it's like, well, I could easily switch that, change that. And of course that becomes your decision, right? You don't just do what the AI always says, but can you see how, like, let's say, you just hopped in here. You don't have a cold start. You got a hot start, right? Like there's no cold start here. You've got an AI that understands your offer, your persona, and how to think about marketing. And you come in and ask it something like that, and it's off to the races, man. It's starting to help you think about things like, well, your persona cares about reliability and punctuality, on-time arrivals, offer match real-time appointment updates with SMS email, priority scheduling on the Shine plan. I don't know. I didn't look carefully enough at my offer that I had, but you can see that down here it's going to say, here's some ways you could upgrade and meet and exceed the pain points. And what I love about working with the strategic advisor is that it might give me 80% of what it gives me. I might be like, nah, that's not a good idea. And then I find something in there. I'm like, holy crap, that's a great idea. Right. And then, you can do something like, highlight one of these and click on Ask ChatGPT, which will push that idea down in there into the context window. You can say, let's go deeper here. How could I set this up? And just use it as a thinking partner. This is why this AI becomes your everyday ride or die, right? Where it's like, if I just had one AI that I was using that I could use, it would be this one, because it's the one that understands, it thinks like a strategic partner with me, and that's how you build it. You can see it's reading through those documents right now that I've attached to it. Remember we talked about anchoring. So it's anchored into instructions. It's anchored into a knowledge base that we created for it. So what questions do we have? Or thoughts? Oh, you're muted. Did I lose you, Vic? Oh, you might be still muted. Oh, there you go. There you are.
It's switching between my iPhone and my Mac. So I have a question for you. One of the things that I did when I created my customer persona, I created Jordan. So that's my ideal customer persona. And then I kind of went a little rogue and I created the opposite of an ideal customer persona. So I created Nancy, who is a micromanager. She's cheap. She's got all the time in the world to watch the cleaners and tell them how to clean. And, you know, this came from my own knowledge from running our company for 4 years and going, how do I get rid of the Nancys and attract more of the Jordans? And my question for you is, does that confuse, and I haven't really seen this, but my gut tells me maybe I shouldn't give an AI an opposite of what I want, because then it might get confused. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it would come out in the performance if you find it that it works. But, you know, when we first started using AI, one of the analogies that people would say is, you know, don't put anything into the AI that you don't want it to think about, because like,
Right.
you know, it's sort of like the old trick where they say, you know, try to not think about pink elephants, right? And it's like, well, now I'm thinking about pink elephants because you told me not to think about pink elephants. So you could see a situation where it sort of pollutes it, and it's like starts to think that this is who you do want to reach. What I would probably do with that is create a separate GPT and drop Nancy into the instructions rather than as an attachment, and create a GPT called Nancy. Like that's the GPT.
How do I deal with Nancy?
Make it a role. Pardon?
And how do I deal with Nancy? Yeah, because she's a constant in my life.
Then you could either start having conversations with Nancy, or you could call Nancy. You know how to call GPTs into conversations. I can show the rest of you guys, like when you start to build more and more of these GPTs that have special skills or they have different ways that they think about the world or take on different roles for you. Like in this case, you could build a GPT that acts as Nancy, right? This is micromanaging, pain in the butt customer.
Cheap, high maintenance, low reward.
Yeah. And so, you know, one of the things you can do, and this is that when you're working inside of an AI, if you hit this @ symbol, you can call in a GPT. So let's say Draper is a GPT is similar to that. So you call in Nancy here, and you could start a conversation here, where you could create Nancy, and you could create, and you could say, have Nancy review the offer, and you know, how do we repel Nancy? How
do we tell her to go elsewhere?
How do we build marketing that doesn't attract Nancy?
Yeah. And actually, it's been really interesting because so far, having, like, I get so many queries that I can tell are the wrong, you know, we're not going to make this person happy. And now that I have my strategic advisor and then on top of that, I made a customer service advisor. It is so clear on the set it and forget it. You know, you can go out and leave us to clean, you know, basically pushing Nancy out the door. That it's just been a really nice way of dealing with kind of pushing certain types of folks away while attracting the right types of clients.
Right. I love that idea, actually, building the anti-persona. You know?
Yeah, I mean, because you do, like, you know, in the cleaning world, there's lots of different types of clients, and we've built this company, and this model solves a problem for a very specific type of client, not for every type of client. And so, you know, we don't want to solve everybody's problems at all.
Yeah,
that's and that's the way to burn out.
What was occurring to me when you were showing me your persona is that my guess is that you could build a standard persona, at least that gets, you know, people that are in your membership 95% there if they just use yours. You know,
that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, I'll drop that into the Stan Store so that they can edit it and make it for themselves. We'll save them some time. So on that note, so within the Click, so I'm a member of the Click. Russ here runs the Click and runs his entire company with just him and Angela. And there's, I don't know, something like 800 people in there. And we meet on Zoom all the time. And Russ is constantly keeping us up to date on what's going on with AI in the practical sense of how we can use it to run our businesses or do any kind of marketing campaigns. So he's generously given us a link, which I'll drop below, that gives you 14 days free. And after that, it is currently 9 something. What's the price, Russ?
It's $990 a year.
A year, which is like, you guys, like I cannot describe how much this is the best money I've ever spent, the most effective use of my time when I'm spinning my wheels going, how do I get more customers? Or how do I deal with this problem client? Or how do I deal with this cleaner that's driving me mental? It's no longer me on my own. Guessing, I'm actually, interacting. This is how I spend all day, every day, is just interacting with my AI. And I shouldn't say all day, because now I get my work done in an hour a day. And before this, I had 2 full-time virtual assistants that I was working with every day going, I am working harder and I don't want to run a company where I have to work so damn much. I just don't. Right. I'm done with that. So really, like, this is for people that want to work smarter, not harder, and use your time for whatever else you want to work on in your life. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is that I think it's crazy that people are, they see that that there is this absolutely transformational technology, probably the technology of the history of humanity is here. It's a great place to invest some time, money, energy in learning, right? Like learning and actually training yourself how to use these tools to your advantage to run a business.
And I think I told you this before, Russ, but before I joined the Click, I was probably spending 6-7 hours a day using the just generic one, the boiled chicken one, and getting really frustrated and writing in caps lock. Like, why don't you remember? We just talked about this. And like for a year, I was doing this and going, okay, I want to use AI, but I just didn't know about this custom GPT thing and how to be smarter about it, how to think about who are our audience, what do they care about, what are they complaining about? Like, just that way of thinking is really the game changer. And, to save that much time. I
mean, what we're doing over in the Click is we're building tons of little tools like this, right? Yeah. Like you can see all the ones I have over here that they just conduct little, and so, what we're constantly doing over here is building efficiencies into businesses. And, when you invest in training like this, you want to make sure it's got a return on your investment. And right now, I just don't see a better place to invest than in learning AI.
I agree.
The thing about AI is that just like Google was, if you can see my screen, like it is deceptively easy to use, right? Like you come in here and it just basically like, hey, what can I help you with? Ask anything, right? So it's really, really easy to use, but there's no instruction manual as to how to use it to run a business. It's a general purpose technology. You could use it as a teacher, you could use it as a scientist, you could use it. In our case, we're using it to run businesses. And so the Click and the Click Pro is a whole bunch of other business people that are finding really, really wicked cool ways to use AI. And, I'm building lots of training around how do you build that AI native company that's growing up with this new transformational technology. And it's awesome. It's so much fun too. To work.
I've never learned this quickly in my life. I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a former teacher, as is Russ. So I know I'm always going to be learning, but to be learning this fast. And then the second point I want to make is that when you look, and I'll do another video on this one day, but when you look at our graph of 2021 when we started our company to today, 2025, it looks a bit like this, and then there's a dip, and it's a big dip. It's a significant dip. And this is when we had our virtual assistants. And then I joined the Click. And then all of a sudden, we're back on this upwards trajectory while working less, just being more effective and making more money, like a lot more money, as a result of how we communicate with our clients and our cleaners. It's been an absolute game changer. So, I don't have the exact numbers on how much more we've made as a result of using this. But here, I'll leave you with one more example. If you own like a landscaping company, which we do now, we have a cleaning and then a lawn care company. I now take photos of the exterior of someone's home with their lawn, and then I run it through the AI and I show them what it will look like the after when they're using our services. I sell more with that simple, 20 seconds of me asking the client, hey, can you send me a pic? I don't even have to go and do it, right? Like they've got it from their phone. And then within 5 minutes, I've sent them a photo of, what do you think of this? And they're like, wow. Oh, it's beautiful. Like, you're welcome. I did a walkthrough this morning on a luxury property. It's 9,000 square feet. And they were saying, well, what cleaning products are you going to use? And my normal answer in real life is the cleaners use their own products that they're comfortable with, but don't worry, they know all the surfaces. But in this case, it's a luxury home. I know the homeowner is going to really care. I say, give me the architect's plans, and within an hour, I'll send you back our plan. And what's really going to happen is I take the architect's plans, I look at, is it marble? Is it granite? Is it fir floors? Like, what are we dealing with? And then the AI spits back the cleaning plan based on their specific products. There's no better way to deal with a luxury homeowner than personalizing the exact plan. That's what they want. When they're saying, what are you going to use? They want, I'm going to use exactly what's right for your home. Yeah. So anyway, this has gone on much, much longer than we had planned. So thank you, Russ, for 2 hours and 15 minutes of your expertise and guidance.
Hey, it was fun. And I always love doing stuff with you guys. So anytime.
Awesome. And then hopefully people join us in the Click. If you're in there, you're going to get even more insight because I'm always jumping in and talking about this stuff, but also having access to Russ and his fabulous brain.
All right, y'all.
Thank you.
It was fun. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that's the end of the stream.